Hello from the land of TV. This is King Cool. And welcome to the Toast Reviews. For those of you who don't know how this works, I watch a movie, I put something in the toaster and talk about it before my toast is done. But we got three problems here. The first one is, again, the Alec Baldwin month graphic was spelled wrong, so I'm going to have that fixed again. William Baldwin. So yeah, once again, I've had them check to make certain this time that we actually got a good one. So this time we're watching Paparazzi, starring Cole Hauser and Alec Baldwin. And here's the third problem. I'm not hungry. I had a big lunch. I'm not the least bit hungry. So, we're not putting anything in the toaster right now. I might put a Pop-Tart in if I had Pop-Tarts, but I have enough to say about this movie. Well, I don't need it, so... We're just gonna be talking this time, so... Here we go. Okay, Paparazzi is a movie, I think it was sort of spearheaded by Mel Gibson. It's made by his production company, Icon. At least at the time, I think he's since sold it. And he makes a small cameo at one point, which is kind of funny, because after an actor, played by Cole Hauser, lashes out at a photographer, that was like a sting thing where they're like, hey, check it out, and a bunch of other guys take pictures of him. And he has to pay him like $500,000 and this other settlement stuff, and it's just like, one, that's happening pretty quick, and two, this is kind of silly, but he's there and he gets a notebook, and it's like, hey, just write down the things that make you angry in this notebook. And then he walks by, and there's Mel Gibson sitting there with a notebook the depth of a phone book, like so many. And it's like, haha, this was 2004, before The Passion of the Christ, I think, or maybe just right around then, and before his rantings about the Jews in the police station, and before his thing with his girlfriend, and all these other things that show that, yeah, Mel Gibson has an amazing problem with his temper. That's not even the part of the movie. So yeah, it's about paparazzi who caused a car accident. I suppose obliquely inspired by Princess Diana, I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess he got struck by Diana's heart only 7 years after it happened, sure. And so so this guy wants to go get revenge for nearly killing his family. Like, nobody dies in this movie. Well, the other guy that gets in the accident, he does die, but he's not even a character. Who gives a damn? But here's the thing. I think that this is a fairly standard boilerplate, like, sort of like The Brave One or Death Sentence or any of these other movies where it's about revenge. You know, it's pretty boilerplate as far as that. And so, making their return appearance, please put your hands together and welcome the inanimate players. I gotta throw away a stand to do this. Zip. Put him in proper punching position. Oh no! And then later, I'm gonna get further away. So we were investigating a murder. Isn't it strange that two guys that were involved in your thing wound up dead? Yes, it is strange. Well, I guess we're gonna go. Let's just be cordial. Okay, goodbye. Wait a minute. Do you have something that I say something that indicates that I know you left something at the scene? Like lemons. Do you like lemons or something? No, still acting casual. Well, alright, I'm gonna go now. Goodbye. Glower the camera. He has a hair in the mail. Get off. I hope that one was sort of clear, you know. It's because, the character's name is Bo Laramie, and he leaves a pen at... The first one, he doesn't even try. What happens is, and this is where the movie starts getting so silly, he just parks somewhere, and he's trying to call his therapist or whatever, and then he pulls out back onto the road, and the guy on the motorcycle, who I thought was Alec Baldwin, but there's two guys who look like Alec Baldwin in this movie. And I'm like, okay, Alec Baldwin doesn't have another brother, does he? I mean, geez, but I thought that was, I was like, oh man, not much Alec Baldwin in this movie. But then it turns out, no, it's this other guy. It's another guy who looks a lot like him. But he's literally hanging from a cliff with part of his pants caught in his motorcycle, hanging down from it. And Bo goes up and he's like, hey, I'm going to pull you up. And he's like, hey, okay, thank you, I'm going to pull you up. And then he says something stupid like, oh man, do you think we got you now? And he's like, what? And then Bo lets him drop. He's like, oh, screw you. And lets him fall. But that's when his pen drops out of that thing. He wasn't even trying to do anything. He just was like, I'm just gonna let you fall. And, you know, maybe it's just me, but it is just like, it's like, okay, if I'm getting pulled up by someone, I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything until I'm back up on the cliff. I mean, jeez. But that's not even as silly as it gets. And then there's a second one where basically he, one of the paparazzi visits him on the set, and he somehow slips a prop gun into his stuff, and he makes a phone call. It's like, oh my god, this guy is shooting everybody, waving a gun around, and he reports his car. He's pulled over. The guy just happens to pull out the fake gun. What the hell is this? And they all shoot him. And I just laughed my head off at that. I'm like, no way. Come on. Here's the real thing that's frustrating about this movie, though, is the fact that, wow, I've been going on for a while, and you've been out of focus this whole time, is that, okay, as far as sympathy goes, paparazzi are just, you know, above, you know, cigarette company executives and Nazis as far as how much sympathy people generally have for the paparazzi. If every single paparazzi died, no one would care, basically, except for their families, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, you know, what do they contribute? Oh, we have less photos of these things, and blah blah blah. I mean, yeah, this is a thing for legitimate photographers. Like, one of the things at the beginning, there's a big line of people, and it's like, oh man, all these flashes. Some of the people there might be paparazzi, but at least they're not doing they're not doing the job of a paparazzi in the sense that, yeah, photographers are going to be there, and at least in that capacity, they're acting as regular photographers. But what these people do in this movie, Tom Sizemore plays the main bad guy. He's like, he videotapes himself having sex with a woman, and then threatens to leak it to the internet if she goes public with the fact that they were responsible for the car crash. They drive two cars up beside this car, just flashing him with stuff. It's like, what sort of pictures are you getting right now? You're just going to cause trouble. Which I think that is the thing that makes it a little more like Princess Diana's death, I suppose. And then they like break into his house and place little miniature security cameras that they can have wired back to Alec Baldwin's house. And when they come home, like the wife wakes up and the guy's like trying to like stop the wife from hitting him and stuff, and it's just like, what are you guys doing? These are not merely paparazzis, these are sociopaths and lunatics. How is it that these, you know, paparazzi who, you know, basically are parasites, you know, going around and taking pictures of people candidly and selling it, how is it that that's not enough of villainy for this movie? They have to make them absolute villains and like, you know, unrepentant sociopaths. And I mean, you know, the things that, again, it's like in a lot of these revenge movies where the guy basically has to sort of become a sociopath. And I almost sort of wish that the guy, the Bo Laramie guy, who he does a good job. What's funny is he reminds me a lot of Matthew McConaughey. And then he meets Matthew McConaughey at the end of the movie. He's like, hey man, I like your work. And I'm just like, hey man, how come you did this movie? Hey. You know. It was kind of funny. But yeah, like, I think a movie that, you know, they also say things like, oh, well, they can do this thing. If you go to your radio thing, you can get a thing that'll dial into anyone's cell phone. So be careful what you say on your cell phone. And it's like, oh, that would be so silly. But then what was it? Like, was it last year or the year before where Hugh Grant's phone got hacked by these people with, like, the Daily Mail or something? And it's like, man, way to make it you know, a lot more realistic than it was, I think, in 2004 when this movie came out. I don't know. This movie is kind of a bummer. It's a real movie that dealt with, you know, the consequences of what these guys do, and dealt with one as a guy just reconciling his behavior to himself as a paparazzi, and that led him to do bad things. As opposed to just being such a cartoon, it's a disappointment. You know? Oh, what else do I have to say? I mean, I'm not being slowed down by the toast this time, so we're getting an extra long episode. I'm just really just plainly not hungry. I'm probably gonna have a light dinner. Oh, I mean, in general, oh yeah, Double Batman right now is taking the place of Dennis Farina as the investigator. Has Dennis Farina ever not played a police officer? I just want one day where he's in a movie and he's a florist, and everyone's like, so, you undercover cop? And he's like, what? No. Of course not. Why would I be an undercover cop? And they're like, come on. He's like, no, I'm not. Come on. Anyway, we're out of time here. So what will come up last for Alec Baldwin month? I don't know. Got no clue. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is King Cool. Drive home safe.